Hey guys, it's Voxxy. Today we're going to be talking about Gihon the Mother Tree, the Restoration Druid's artifact weapon, which we will be receiving at level 100 when Legion drops. So, in this video, we're going to be talking about the different traits available to us, as well as the 3 golden traits that we're going to want to get as fast as possible. We're going to look at the different paths that we can take, and look at the most efficient ones, as well as the relics that we'll be able to get in order to enhance some of these traits. Without further ado, I'm going to read off the first 3 golden traits so that we have an idea of what we're trying to get. So Dreamwalker, the first one, what it does is it gives Wild Growth a 50% chance to momentarily shift your mind into the Emerald Dream, instantly healing all allies affected by your rejuvenation for a certain amount. When I did raid testing last week, this was not a very big part of my healing, but it was enough to be noticed, so it's going to be a pretty strong one. It works very well in conjunction with Power of the Archdruid, which is Wild Growth has a 25% chance to cause your next rejuvenation or regrowth to also apply to 2 additional targets within 15 yards of your main target. So this is going to let you have more rejuves out, which is in turn going to make you have more healing from Dreamwalker. Now the third one is Tranquil Mind. Tranquil Mind increases the healing done by Tranquility by 20% and it is now castable while moving. A few days ago, Blizzard introduced a buff to Tranquility as well as all of their raid CDs, and it was a pretty substantial amount. So this is the target that we're going to be aiming for the first golden trait that we want to get. Not only does it increase the healing done by a major raid cooldown, you're also able to cast it while moving, which is very, very important for progression. Resto Druids are lucky enough to be one of the most mobile classes while healing, and not many spells limit us to having to stand there and cast. So without further ado, let's start our first trait. The first trait that you get is an active called Essence of Gihon. It releases the natural power within Gihon to increase the frequency that all of your heal over time effects heal allies for 100% for 8 seconds. Now essentially what this does is just doubles the speed that your hots tick at. This is pretty strong, especially in conjunction with the level 100 talent Flourish, which increases all hots that you currently have active by 6 seconds. So pairing these two together is probably going to be one of the best combinations that you have out there, and it's even going to be better if you use Berserking as a troll. Now, the first actual trait you're going to want to pick up is Nature's Vigor. It increases the healing done by rejuvenation by 15%. You don't have a choice, you have to take it. It's a great trait. The first choice that you make is between Natural Mending, which increases the healing done by Swiftmend by 10%, Grove Walker, which increases healing over time you do by 1%, and Infusion of Nature, which reduces the mana cost of Wild Growth by 2%. Now there are 3 ways to go about this, 3 main ways. One is the fastest way to get to Tranquil Mind. Put 3 points into Natural Mending, 1 point into Blooms of Gihon, which increases the Bloom healing from Life Bloom by 50%, a decent talent. 3 points into Armor of the Ancients, which also adds a 6% damage reduction to Iron Bark on top of the current reduction it has. 3 points into Blessing of the World Tree, which increases healing done by Healing Touch and initial healing done by regrowth by 10%. Not a bad talent, or not a bad trait. And then Tranquil Mind. All this only costs 5,500 artifact power, which is peanuts. But this isn't the most efficient way to do it. I mean, sorry, it is the most efficient way to do it, but it's not the best way, because you could just go back here. Blooms of Gihon is not a super important talent, because the bloom is almost RNG as to whether the tank is taking damage or not during the time that it blooms. Obviously, you can time it in some sort of way, but it becomes kind of trivial. Natural Mending is definitely a good talent, but you probably shouldn't rely on Swiftmend for doing too much of your healing, so it's definitely not the best one to have 3 points into to begin with. Now, looking at this tree over here, Grove Walker increases all healing done, or all overtime heals, increases all healing over time you do by 1%, so 3% at max level. Then you could go Nature's Essence, which Wild Growth instantly heals its target for X, which is a certain amount that is pretty decent. Then you have a 15% increase in Efflorescence healing. This is pretty substantial. And then you could skip to, instead of going to Dreamwalker, you could just skip onto Armor of the Ancients, and then 3 points into the Blessing of the World Tree, and then going 1 point into Tranquil Mind. This costs 22,000 artifact power, but don't forget that raid only opens up 2 weeks after the patch or the expansion drops, so this is definitely plenty of time to get this first gold trait, and it's definitely the most efficient one in terms of healing. Now, the second one you'd want to get is Dreamwalker, and all it takes is 1 more upgrade, so another 11,000 points. As you can see, the artifact power spent is pretty exponential when it comes to actually leveling up traits. Now, we obviously want to go for the third one now, Power of the Archdruid. So instead of putting 3 points into Natural Mending, which could have been a good alternative, I would put 3 points into Infusion of Nature, which reduces the mana cost of Wild Growth by 6%. Then we put 3 points into Persistence, which is the passive of current Germination in Warlords of Draenor, which not only does it let you cast 2 Rejuvenations on a target, it also increases the duration of Rejuvenation by, I believe, also 3 seconds. But anyway, this is where it is now. It's an artifact trait. The other two, Moonfire and Sunfire, don't matter too much. Then 3 points into Knowledge of the Ancients, which is one of the most important ones because it increases your mana regen by 6%. And then you would put 1 point into Power of the Archdruid. Obviously, this would be impossible to have by the beginning of the first tier. What you should expect while doing all world quests, dailies, and doing almost everything that you can, which includes treasures, instances, world quests, everything that can get you artifact power, you could probably see yourself around level between 18 to 20. So I'd even say 19. 19 is probably a good one. 90,000 by about the first 2 weeks is probably something that you'd want to aim at. So you could probably have this much done in your artifact weapon before the first raid opens. Now, if we finish up what we had started over here, 3 points into here and then 1 point into here, we'd finish up with 2 points into Natural Mending, or 3 points into Natural Mending, and then 1 point into Bloom of Gihon. Now these two over here are almost meaningless. Seeds of the Living Tree increases the additional healing by 10% of the initial heal which plants this living seed. It's not a bad one to have. I don't think it's great, but it's not bad. And then Mark of Shifting. While in travel form, cat form, moonkin form, or bear form, you heal yourself for 1% of your maximum health for 3 seconds. It's not a terrible trait, but it's not one that you necessarily need. And then after that, you just start dumping points into Gihonir's Bloom, which increases your healing done by 0.5 every time, and takes 65 million artifact power to complete, which is nuts. Anyway, to have a fully unlocked artifact weapon, you only need 5.2 million, but this is kind of their mechanic of making the artifact power overpowered, or the artifact weapon overpowered, after, hopefully after you've cleared the raids. So anyway, on to the relics. So you have 2 life relics and 1 frost relic. What these relics do is they increase the item level of your weapon, as well as giving you an extra point in a certain trait. Now what you want to do is obviously go for the one with the highest item level, because it's going to give you more intellect, which in turn is going to make your healing higher. But there are some, I guess you can call them tiers of importance when it comes to getting certain traits. The ones I believe in tier 1 would be Knowledge of the Ancients, which increases mana regen by 6%, Persistence, which increases the duration of rejuvenation by 3 seconds, and Grovewalker, which increases all healing over time you do by 3%. That would be my tier 1, so you would essentially look for the highest item level relic you can find with one of these 3 traits. My second tier would be Natural Mending, which increases healing done by Swiftman by 30%. Essence of Nordrassil increases healing done by Fluorescence by 15%. Armor of the Ancients, Ironbark reduces all damage taken by the target by an additional 6%. And Infusion of Nature reduces the mana cost of Wild Growth by 6%. Now, obviously these are only 1 point and not all 3, so instead of 6% it would be 8. And instead of like 6% here, well, it would be 8 as well. So it wouldn't go like 12, obviously. Now, the last 2, Blessing of the World Tree and Seeds of the World Tree, you don't really need to get those. Honestly, if you get a higher item level with those 2, well, tough luck. You're gonna have to use them. However, don't try to get these. Try to use any other with a higher item level, obviously. With Knowledge of the Ancients being the best, Grovewalker and Persistence in the same tier. And like I said, for the other ones. So I hope this kind of clears up how artifact traits work. I hope it helped you guys, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll reply. There probably won't be many upcoming videos other than raid testing, but I will see you guys when I get to level 110, and I'll give you guys like a second impression, I guess a third impression at this point, of Resto Druid healing, and maybe I'll do a little update with the artifact weapon and whatnot. So thanks for watching, and have a nice day.